it's okay to be the way you are. It's okay that you're absolutely obsessed with marketing software. It's okay that you spend an ungodly amount of time writing and posting on LinkedIn and trying to figure out how to build more of a community. It's okay that you work 70, 80 hours a week because you like what you do. That took a long time for me to come to terms with that, because you're told from a lot of people that you shouldn't be that way, that it leads to riches, and then you're like depressed as hell because you left your kids behind or whatever. Like, you know what? You can do both.
Welcome to the Friends with Benefits podcast, an Arcadia production. This is the show all about how to grow in business, lead with purpose, and live with intention. We're your co-hosting couple. I'm Jason.
And I'm Sam. Welcome to the show, friends.
Hello, friends. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Hello, Sam.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sitting here looking at the books that my computer's sitting on this week so we can get some, elevation. And it's much more fun this week than last week. I've got Chutes and Ladders and Candyland. What do you have?
Oh, God. Monopoly, Sorry, and Scrabble.
Tough.
We'll have to take a picture so you guys know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah, if we didn't use books, our computers would be way down. The camera would just be looking up at our chins. So we try to get them elevated. And this co-working space has games that are they look like books.
So we had kind of a fun night last night.
We had a thing called Bozeman Nights that we host here in town. We had the coach of the Montana State Bobcats, the national champion Bobcats.
Yeah.
Your alma mater?
My alma mater, yeah. You know what was really interesting? We kind of talked about this last night, but newsflash, I'm not the biggest football fan.
No.
So we got Coach Brent Vegan, to come talk to a group of people. There's a lot we should and could unpack about what we're doing with Bozeman Nights. But one thing that stood out to me about head coach, him in particular, was like his focus on building culture and leaders and ownership and understanding the inner workings of his players. And we didn't talk about strategy one time.
Right.
So the intersection between like his train of thought and leadership in general was really fascinating for me.
I know where you're going with this because during this interview, I was thinking kind of the same thing, parallels to what we talked about last night.
So now I have a new obsession with head coaches.
Okay, random. Especially the head coach from Friday Night Lights.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But I think it is really interesting. Even like Meet the Titans, same deal. Like the mentality of leading a team to greatness. I never made the connection, but it's same in business, same in sports, all the things.
Yeah.
So.
And Kyle Lacy, I think he kind of embodies a lot what Coach Vegan was talking about. He's very approachable, very authentic, very real, and very, very much concerns himself with the well-being of his team. And I think that's kind of what you took from Coach last night, is like how much he focuses on the players and their experience versus the strategy and how they're going to play. And I think Kyle was kind of talking about the same thing. He's like, what's their experience like working here? Are they getting the most out of it? Are they growing? Are they avoiding some of the things they should be avoiding, like burnout?
Yeah. Have I given them all the tools to help them be the best they can be?
Yeah. And so it was a great conversation.
Both of these are great conversations. So if you didn't pick up on it, today's guest is Mr. Kyle Lacy.
That's right.
You've known him for a long time.
Yeah, we've known each other, I guess, going on 6-7 years now. He actually helped my brother Jake get a job once upon a time back at Lessonly. So super grateful for that. And he's just been a good friend and somebody to lean on every now and then.
Yeah. And I've known him from a distance, but I have learned to really admire his leadership, his vulnerability, and his openness in the way he writes. And we talk about that a lot today. So enjoy
and
the
his
conversation.
Superpower of branding, which I think he's the best at.
The best at. Yeah. All right, friends. Mr. Kyle Lacy.
See y'all.
Kyle, it's so good to have you here. Thanks for joining us today.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
And the most long overdue, most awaited podcast. I think you and I started talking about this a year and a half ago, but we were
probably longer
doing
probably longer than that. I don't. It was probably a different podcast when we talked about it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's back in my very first podcast, Social Toolkit.
Well, since I'm pretty sure, did we talk on the first season of Revenue Diaries during COVID? Did I interview you?
Yeah,
I think we probably did.
Wow. Yeah,
that was the last time.
I forgot about that one. It's been so long. COVID brain.
Yeah, we blocked COVID out.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Me too. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I also have been so excited for this podcast because I am a closet fan. Now I'm out of the closet. There's so many things we could talk about today. So I'm just going to dive right in because every time we run out of time for all my questions. So
No, that's good. Let's do it. We'll do quick hits. We'll save some quick hits at the
Rapid
end too.
That's right.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire with Kyle Lacy for 45 minutes.
Okay. You show up wearing a lot of different identities. I mean, I think we all have a lot of identities as humans, but we tend to not showcase them all on our sleeve. So you're a dad, you're a CMO, you're a husband, you're a writer, you're a podcast host, the list goes on and on. Has it always been an obvious thing for you to talk about all of those publicly, or did something change where you decided to wear them all in public at once?
I don't know if this is a cool story, but it's always been that way. It might be just the way that I was at the time frame that I was growing up. AOL became huge, Yahoo became huge, MySpace.
What was your screen name?
I was going to say the same thing.
Oh yeah, my AOL screen name was Kilo L254. My birthday is May 24th, so it should have been 524. But for some reason I screwed that up. So it was Kilo L
Fat fingers.
254. I think for a lot of us that were built that way as we were growing up through junior high and high school, where it came very easy to share what was going on in life. And Facebook hit my college campus in 2003. You know, it was very early on. So I think it was just a matter of me using these tools so constantly that it just became very natural for me. You know, it moved from AOL away messages where I was putting like song lyrics because some girl just broke up with me for Jesus. And then all the way up to today where we're posting on LinkedIn and trying to learn this AI world and all this stuff. So for me, it's been very natural. I don't know any other way I would do it, honestly.
That's a very interesting way to think about it. I've never really thought about like the transparency in which this particular generation lives online, being because we've been sharing everything since the MySpace days or even the AOL AIM days. But yeah.
We have. I mean, Friend Feed, I don't know if you all were on Friend Feed. This was like Bart Kaler, who's now was the co-CEO of Salesforce and all this stuff, right? But he had his first thing was Friend Feed. Facebook bought it and it became the wall, the Facebook wall. I mean, that was what Friend Feed was, basically. That was the website. And now I'm thinking about it. It's like Bart Taylor or something. I don't remember. But anyway, so I would spend hours just responding to wall messages with people, hours in my early 20s. I don't know if that's just me, but I think you're right, Jason. I think we were just kind of born into it.
Yeah. And those of us with the marketing background and chops have figured out how to turn that transparency into a way of marketing ourselves and our companies.
Yeah, but even still, I feel like there's so many people that are our age, our generation that don't. They still very much silo, like, this is my work person, and I don't talk about my family person. Even like in human to human conversations.
Yeah, this is probably a curse, but I don't separate the two very well. COVID was extremely hard for me because I don't separate church and state at all. I'm all in. I love what I do, much to my wife's pain and suffering sometimes. But God bless her. But I think that it's just easier for me to tell the whole story instead of trying to compartmentalize who I am, because I'm just not. What you see is what you get for the most time. I think that it's harder for me to share personal and emotional and painful things like one-to-one for sure. Like I'm not good at that at all, but I can talk about crap all day long online, which is a really interesting thing.
Yeah.
What do you think telling the whole story has like done for your career? Like you've been doing this whole story thing on LinkedIn for quite some time. Like what do you think it's done for your career as you've gone from great to greater to greatest types of companies and roles?
Great. I don't know if I'd start with great for what it's worth, but I appreciate that.
I mean, when I met you were at Lessonly doing the coolest of stuff. So,
well, I mean, before that, I barely graduated college. I was almost fired twice from ExactTarget, and I made it barely by the skin of my teeth. But so I appreciate you saying that. But I think writing and sharing and being online in general helps me process information. And so it has helped me, I mean, outside of just the network. I mean, I think that that's probably the most powerful part of all this is the community that you build when you write this stuff and you share this stuff and you're active. So ultimately, that's been probably the most powerful part. But telling your story, I think it's the only thing that really makes any of us unique. And I just found that throwing in and making sure that I was talking about the personal side helped with that. And it wasn't calculated. It was just like, this is what I'm thinking about right now. I'm going to post about it. So I don't know if I answered your question directly, Jason, but I don't know. I would actually reverse it to both of you. You both do it. You both have been in the scene. I think it's super helpful for me.
I think the first time I realized that the power of like telling your story and being super transparent, especially on LinkedIn, it's a mutual friend of ours. I was at PFL, and Justin Keller had brought me into the interview process at Terminus, and I was a very late candidate. And then Brian Wade, our friend there, he was the one who hired me. And I asked Brian, I was like, you had some other candidates, and I was late to the interview. Like, why? I got to know, like, why do you think I'm the right person? Outside of like the work I've been doing in partnerships, one of the things he also mentioned, he's like, you also really know how to tell the story, how to build the brand. You've got a really good thing you do on LinkedIn. That's the kind of person that we're looking for. We want to hire. And I was like, oh shoot, like we're actually out here hiring based off this kind of stuff now. Like I was just doing it because I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed the storytelling, making the videos, talking about what I was learning and doing. And then here comes B Wade. He's like, no, you've got this LinkedIn thing on nailed down. You're doing a good job telling the partner story, making the content. Like we need that in this house.
When I'm talking to my team or somebody coming up in the industry or somebody trying to build their career, if you use this stuff appropriately, you should never have to use your resume to get a job.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And that's kind of how I frame it with my team. I'm like, hey, the reason why you're here is that to build your expertise in the role, we are going to run 100 miles an hour because we're tacticians and we have the entrepreneurial spirit and all that stuff. But the goal is that you build an identity where you are poached from this job. You don't have to go search for one if you do it appropriately. So that's kind of how I've always thought about it.
Okay, let's transition here to your team and how you're building them up, because you talk a lot about leadership, and I think that maybe you don't have a unique perspective on it, but you're one of the few who are talking about it openly. So that makes it unique.
You mean like not cloud coding my entire marketing team and then telling them to go screw off like that? That is what
that
you're
kind of
about?
stuff. But also just like the humanity behind leadership. I think that's so often like not talked about. It's tactics and strategy, and here's the ROI I delivered, when the real work is developing the humans who are delivering the results. So there's so many questions that I want to talk to you about on this topic, but let's start with a brand new leadership role. What do you do in that first window to like build trust with the team and kind of showcase the type of leader that you are and want to show up as?
Well, I think that the most important step for any new leader at a company, Docebo's over 1,000 employees, so it's fairly large for a software company. But for something like Docebo, when somebody joins, it is, here are my expectations, and I have those documented. It was my first email that I sent the entire marketing team the day I joined. Here are my thoughts around the transition. I know that they've been going through a lot. Here are my expectations, and here's what you should expect from me. So that's the first thing, is that I try as much as possible to get that in front of people when they join the team. And the second one is make sure you have a list of the 10 most important people they need to meet in the first week, and you personally introduce them to those people. I would say that I'm pretty good at that for the most part, especially my direct leaders. But I think that your expectation setting is super important because it sets the stage of what they should expect, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then they need to meet the people that will empower them to do their job. And you can't leave it up to somebody, no matter how entrepreneurial they are, to try to figure that out. And so you've got expectation setting, and then you've got making sure that they meet the appropriate people. And that usually sets leaders up, at least in the correct direction, where they can then evolve past that. But if you don't set the expectation, that's the first thing. And I don't think a lot of people do, unfortunately.
So give us an example of an expectation, because I feel like even that, it's like, is that how you show up to work? Is that how you do your work? Is that how you communicate with other people? What does that look like?
I'd say that They've evolved since I joined because I've been at Docebo about a year come April. And it's a combination of work as well as personal. So we cultivate good taste because creativity will always win. We take full responsibility for outcomes, not just tasks. So a lot of times, if you see something, I want you to say something. I don't want you to see it and then be like, that's the way it always is. Let's just move on. We do our best work when we stay close to it. So I hire tacticians. I do not hire like paper pushers. When flagging a problem, always come with a solution. AI should be an assistant, not a replacement. And then we make time for life. So those have evolved slightly since the first email that I sent, but it's basically my expectation is that you take full responsibility of your work and you never bring a problem without trying to bring a solution, and you make time for your own life because I didn't and I haven't and I burned out because of it.
And how do you keep those front and center in the team and keep, following those instead of like just letting it be a one-time email sent and be done with it?
Yeah. So I have to continuously remind myself of them and my team. So I'll post it on Slack probably once a quarter. I'll have situations where I see something that's a good example of it and I'll post it. I'll see stuff that's not a good example and I'll post. I always send an end of the year reflection, and each team member will get some idea of this when they join. We do shout outs at the beginning of all of our team meetings where we spend the first 10 minutes celebrating people for what they did the week before. And a lot of that comes out in that as well. I'm not saying like, hey, you got to name a value for the team and then make sure you connect it to that person. But you can tell that the stories that people tell kind of fit those values.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because I've seen a lot of companies, I've been a part of a lot of companies that like put values on their website. And then, those were dictated by maybe a C-suite or a singular C-suiter.
Yeah.
And then they just go to die. So,
Yep. Well, I learned one thing that we're doing it at Docebo, and I think that our chief people officer, Lauren Tropiano, kind of lives and breathes this stuff. And she's been brilliant at helping us reimagine what those look like as a company, because our company's going through a lot of change right now. But at Lessonly, they did it right at the very beginning. Make time for life was one of the values. Have difficult conversations was another value. And what was so brilliant about the values that Lessonly put in place originally was that you could say them. Like we make time for life. We share before ready. We have difficult conversations. And I think that's probably the issue most of the time with values. It's like integrity, whatever, entrepreneur, think like an owner.
Kindness.
The amount of companies I've seen their value is get shit done.
Yeah,
cool, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Which Google's is like, don't be evil, which is pretty cool. But I think that's probably the biggest issue is that there's no personality behind any of it. But that's a whole different conversation.
Marketing.
Yeah, they're terribly marketed internally.
I want to go back to something you mentioned about where you're going through those values, we'll call them, and one of the underlying purposes of them, you said, so that you don't burn out because you have. Can we talk about that? The burnout you experienced, what caused that? And like, how did that begin to change how you lead from that point forward?
I put majority of my self-worth in my job. That's still the case, even though I'm married and I have kids, even though it's less so now. So when you put your entire self-worth in something, the energy I put towards it and why I do so much, which Sam, you rightfully pointed out at the beginning of this, is because I feel like I need to. It's something that I don't know if it's genetic with my father or the way I was raised, but I have to constantly be moving forward. I think it's a very American thing as well, for what it's worth. And when you do that, but you don't think about anything else, it's only a matter of time before it catches up to you. So for me, it was completely ignoring health other than running sometimes. It was drinking too much alcohol as a coping mechanism. I think it was using work and projects and consulting and LinkedIn and alcohol and all these things as coping mechanisms. And that's what burned me out. And I still I have to force myself to take breaks. But it was right after the Leslie acquisition where I spent 9 months in the leadership role at Seismic as SVP of marketing, where I burned out completely. I don't even know if it was slow. It was right after the acquisition. Everybody was super happy. Everybody made money. And then it just went down. For me, it just crashed and burned.
What did that look like?
I can remember it was like May, June timeframe. There was a week time frame where every day I woke up, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is crazy. I was waking up early in the morning to have meetings with people in Europe. I was having one-on-ones with people in Australia at 6:30, 7 p.m. And I was just exhausted. I wasn't sleeping well. Sleep is a huge thing now for me, like most people, because I think it's trendy. But I remember calling Doug, CEO of Seismic at the time, and saying, like, I'm done. I cannot do this. I'm giving you notice because I'm going to wake up in August and September and completely hate myself and where I'm at, even though I've been successful. I mean, we had a great acquisition and I was miserable. For me, it was, I have to get out of the grind in order to take a break and take a breath. And I remember the first week I was unemployed, my wife had to tell me to stop taking phone calls because I was talking to people like 5 or 6 times a day still, just after it. So I wish that there was like a cooler story that was more emotional, but it was kind of like, I'm done. This is it. I can't do it anymore. I'm going to wake up 6 months from now and hate myself.
I think that is the story though, because so many people are like waiting for this moment of like, hitting rock bottom or huge revelation or whatever. But I mean, maybe that's why it's called burnout. It's a slow burn. Like it just happens over time. And if you're not paying attention to it, then
you have to, or you will hit rock bottom and it will not be pretty. I count myself lucky that I made the shift to change a lot of the decisions I was making to be better, a better individual, a better person. But if I hadn't done that, I'd be in a completely different spot.
As a leader who went through that, like, do you feel any sense of responsibility to look out for that in your team members?
Well, absolutely. That's why I think it's important that we talk about this idea of making time for life. And it's also very important that I talk openly about how I work and why I work the way I do. Because if you don't do that, your team looks at you like, Kyle's working 80 hours a week. I probably should too.
totally.
Yeah.
Well, I do that because I love what I do.
Yeah. Kyle's slacking me on a Saturday. I've got to do the same.
Right. All right. So I've had to be pretty conscious of the best invention in the past 3 years has been the Slack. You can schedule Slack messages to go out later. But yeah, you just have to be pretty upfront about it. And I'm not perfect at it. My team gets Slacks from me really early in the morning too. I still have the tendency to overwork, but I feel like I balance it pretty well now with shutting down mostly on the weekends. I exercise regularly. I try to compartmentalize work with personal, but it's an ongoing thing. But I think a lot of times people look at, when you have a exit or you've been successful and they're like, oh, wow, this is awesome. They probably just really love what they do. And I remember, it's difficult to explain, but after the acquisition, I remember I had a high for about a day and then it disappeared. And I was like, okay, what's next? And that is not healthy.
We've had quite a few people on the podcast, and I am so grateful for all these conversations because I relate to them immensely. But having work be your whole identity, I feel like there's so many people that's just part of who they are. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. Like there's so many things outside of that could define me. You just said you've set up things in your life outside of that, like taking care of your health. You're sober now. You prioritize sleep. Like talk about those boundaries that you've set up to kind of help yourself move outside of that and reclaim some of those identities and what you've noticed through the pattern.
The first one is regular exercise. If you don't know this already, I'm obsessed with Orange Theory. I think
Orange Theory influencer.
Orange Theory.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say I'm very supportive of our customer Orange Theory because they're a Docebo customer. But I think that, but I am also obsessed with them.
How many classes?
700, almost 800 probably.
That's like
now.
so impressive. Are you doing 2-a-days?
No. But I've been doing less recently because I'm running a marathon in April, so you can't really do hardcore hit while running long distances. But so that was the first one. I had to find something that forced me to do it. So Orange Theory is a good one because they charge you if you miss a class. It's not inexpensive. It's not super expensive, but it does force you. So that was number one. And I was going, but again, the same tendencies that I have at work affected my exercise. I was going 6 times a week for probably 6 months, probably 9 months actually. And guess what happened?
Burned out.
I burned out. So you can see a pattern here. It's probably just I'm just off from a psychological perspective. But so for me, it was exercise. Find something that forces you to do it. And once you do it for 3 to 6 weeks, you're going to get hooked on it anyway. Second was kind of forced upon me, but it was very helpful. At Docebo, we have phones and computers that are given to us. And so I have a Docebo phone and a personal phone. And that has been massive for me because I just put the Docebo phone in my backpack or in my car when I'm at home, and it's less likely that I will check it because right now my personal phone is only my personal email and then Slack and LinkedIn, which I won't check at home that often. So that's the second one. Third one is I try to, when I am reading books, it's very rare that I will read business books. Most of the time it's fiction or things that are more interesting to me, like history, biographies, World War II, Civil War, that type of stuff. Very 41-year-old American dad.
You're reading your World War II books
World
while you're
War
out smoking
II.
a brisket.
No. Funny thing is, I bought a smoker during COVID.
We all did.
We all did. And guess how many times I used it?
Twice.
You guys
I might
have
have
the same.
Oh, come on. I use mine more than I've used it at least 4 times.
Maybe it was like 1.5.
I gave it to one of my friends. I was like, come pick this up because I'm never using it. So he took it.
I bet if I gave Jason's to one of his friends, he wouldn't notice.
I would.
No,
At least I use it maybe twice a year, maybe once a year. I've
Okay.
had it for 5 years.
it was too hard for me. It was like, why is a ham taking 9 hours to cook? I can just go buy one. I don't need to cook it. I don't need to. It probably tastes better. It will probably taste better. Those are the 3 most important things probably. And then there's other random things like I've taken on the Whoop to try to track all my sleep and all that. And I try to not eat a couple hours before bed, and that really helps. And I try to get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Most of the time it's like 6 to 7 hours. So other than that, it is just making sure I don't crash out, as my boys would say. Dad, don't crash out.
I love it. It's the way to optimize. I mean, I feel like a couple years ago, I kind of started down the same path of like what I would consider like peak performance, what that looked like for me. And I realized very quickly that, much like you were saying, like I have to have exercise or I don't feel normal. I have to have some sort of movement practice, as my coach likes to call it. So up in the mornings, working out, trying to get to bed relatively early so that I can get up early. But yeah, I totally feel in the optimization there. It's a big piece of like who I am now, especially as I get older.
The last thing is just, I think for me, it was telling myself that it's okay to be the way you are. It's okay that you're absolutely obsessed with marketing software, which sounds weird to even say out loud, right? It's okay that you spend an ungodly amount of time writing and posting on LinkedIn and trying to figure out how to build more of a community. It's okay that you work 70, 80 hours a week because you like what you do. That took a long time for me to come to terms with that, because you're told from a lot of people that you shouldn't be that way, that it leads to riches, and then you're like depressed as hell because you left your kids behind or whatever. Like, you know what? You can do both.
You can do both.
I was just reading makes me think of the story I was reading this morning about Ray Allen, obviously one of the better basketball players of our generation.
And a great actor. He got game.
He got game.
Isn't he in He Got Game with Denzel Washington?
It was also in
I think he is.
It was part of what I was reading. He had all these accolades, including actor, but he didn't have the championship. He had to wait, like 12 years to get his championship. And he got it. He's like, I felt good for about a day. And the day after, he was like, I still felt empty.
Well, I think that's just, people are just built that way. Like I am never going to say I'm like Ray Allen or like Kobe Bryant.
You are the Ray
Like there's
Allen of
no,
marketing, Kyle.
Amen.
hell no, please not.
Like, you got game?
I love that movie though. Great movie. But I think it can be a superpower if you balance it appropriately. Like I work really, really hard because I put so much self-worth in my career, but it's turned more positive for me over the past couple of years than negative. I was always told I shouldn't be that way. Like you shouldn't always over-index on work, or you should focus 90% of your time on family and 10% on work because of blah, 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 blah. And I like what I do. I'm good at it. And I don't ignore my family. So I think that's all right.
Like you've got a balance. And one of those superpowers or things you're good at is one of the things I wanted to talk about, because like one of the things I've always admired about you and your marketing and kind of what you've done at each stop is creating really fun, cool, engaging brands. Right? You had the llama thing going at Lessonly. Then you've always really heavily.
You want to
indexed.
see the newest one, the newest thing that I
the
just
Docebo
got?
purple? What we got?
No.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, look at those
stop.
kicks. Those are sick.
Wait, look though.
What does it say in there?
Docebo. It says Docebo.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Isn't that cool?
I'm gonna have to get Steve Harris to send me a pair of those.
So this was Drippy Customs. They were awesome. But I've got a ton of crap always behind me. But
Yeah, but you're a good brand guy, and you create a brand. And I think most enterprise marketers are afraid to do that. Like most enterprise, companies that focus on the enterprise, like they don't want to build this fun, creative brand because it doesn't attract the enterprise customers, right? But you've kind of
Enterprise people are boring.
yeah, that's kind of been what I've always heard from people. And like I've watched people like yourself or our pal Justin like do some really fun, engaging stuff, and it makes a difference, especially in the story the company and the brand's able to tell. But like, talk to us about brand building. Like, why do you lean so heavily on that, and what have you seen it do for companies like?
it's a combination of a lot of things. I grew up in the music industry with my dad, and I grew up playing music. And I went to college for music business and realized that you couldn't make any money in music at the time, because this was like 2002. So all the MySpace music, AOL, all that stuff, or not AOL, geez, Apple Music, all that stuff was coming out. It was all changing.
CDs in the mail were no longer a thing.
CDs were no longer a thing.
RIP Columbia
And-
House.
Yeah. Hilarious, though, is that I think a great direct mail for AI credit companies would be a AOL CD with 500 free AI credits.
Actually,
Would that
yes.
be a great direct mail?
Yeah.
I told, you probably know Casey, who is now at Anthropic. I sent her that idea a couple days ago. I'm like, you have to do this.
Nice.
But anyway, so I think it was a combination of that. I think that creativity will always win, and your ability to surprise and delight people is marketing, and should always be what marketing is all about. That's why, as we were talking about values, we cultivate good taste because creativity wins. Is that I don't want to be like everyone else ever. People don't need more t-shirts.
No.
They need custom things. They need things that surprise them. They need things that they can use, right? It just is more interesting to me. So I think it was a combination of growing up around creativity. Both Justin and I'm pretty sure, have worked for a guy named Daniel and Candela. I learned a lot about creativity from him when I worked for him at Exact Target, and I still learn from him. I have always wanted to be a consumer marketer. So I think this is me forcing myself to be a little bit consumer. I think that's the combination of things. And it's just more interesting to me. Like, it's more interesting to me to launch a swag store where people can go buy your swag because they like it, because it's well designed, than just coming up with a couple t-shirts that you can give people.
Forcing it down their throat at a conference.
Yeah, it's more interesting to me to spend more money to send 200 extremely customized direct mail than 6,000 that's just a trinket that they're going to throw away anyway. So that's why the experience that somebody has with you, with your brand, and the perception that they take away from it's the only thing that actually makes you relevant. And it's actually the only thing that makes marketers relevant.
Yeah. I think the other thing that needs to be said out loud here too, though, is I'm pretty sure this is you, so fact check again. But did I hear a story that you spray painted the first llamas by yourself?
Yes, I did do that. I probably am going to die at a younger age because I got cancer from it. But yes, I spray painted. Yes.
But I feel like that's part of the point is like most people shy away from these things because they're not easy. They're not obvious. It's not scalable. They require extra steps. And yet the impact that it has is, as you just said, enormous.
Well, it should be connected. Like I can tell you the Golden Llama story, but we just launched, for those of you listening, it's a box. But we sent like this direct mail with the 9 days of learning. And in each box is a call out to one of our customers with a piece that like Orange Theory was in here and we had Orange Theory socks. And we sent these to a group of people and we got responses from mostly all of them because it's interesting, right? And it's part of Docebo. It's part of our story. It's not just something that I could go pick on a swag website and send them another Yeti. Nobody needs another Yeti. If you need a Yeti, you can email me because I'll send you one because I have 50 million of them.
Check our local Goodwill.
I got plenty. What brand do you want?
I know. I've got probably 10 different brands, right, of liquid holders. I mean, Golden Llama was interesting because it was a culture award that we gave internally. Like once a quarter, we gave a Golden Llama to somebody. They got to keep that Golden Llama on their desk. In our office, we had a Golden Llama wall with everybody's pictures. And we thought, I think it was Ben Battaglia's idea, actually, when he first joined Leslie, was we should send Golden Llamas to prospects and tell them to give it to a person on their team that exhibited their values. So it had nothing to do with the product at all.
Wow.
Really. I mean, it kind of had like learning was a portion of it, and then we tried to figure out how to send those and we realized that it's really hard to manufacture them. So there's this company in Michigan that I guarantee you we kept in business for like 2 years because we bought thousands of these like 5-inch little llama figurines, but we couldn't figure out how to paint them. So I just spray painted the first 2,000 of them in my garage.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 100.
But then it worked. And then we mass manufactured them. But it actually worked because it generated ROI because we actually got business from it. But I don't know. I think you got to enjoy what you do that much that you will take an hour out of your day to put on a face mask to go spray paint 100 llamas.
I think that's it, though. It's the craziness. Like people ask us all the time, like, really? You threw a glamping retreat for tech leaders? And we're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. And people will catch on to that. And then you got to think of something else. Like you guys have the glamping thing. Now it's becoming a little trendy. So you're going to have to figure out, all right, how do we kind of shift it a little bit to be a little bit more different, right?
Talking to Katy Perry now about
Yeah.
spaceship pursuits into outer space.
We're going to need some sponsors, but
Sponsored by SpaceX. It'd be
Yeah.
great. It'd be great. It'd go over real well.
Everyone's in Docebo space boots. There you go.
hey, oh, okay. Okay, I have 1,000 more questions, so maybe we'll have to do a V2. But to round this thing out, when you look back at your life and your career, what do you want to have been true about how you lead people at work and at home?
Oh man, wow. Maybe it's more of what I want people to say. I think maybe because I'm working on this right now, but I want people to remember me listening. I think that's really it. How do you make sure, like I'm a type A to an extreme, and if you can figure out how to listen in an appropriate way as a leader, even though you're type A personality, your team will do so much more and be happier and want to do the work because you took the time to hear them out and listen to them. And that's part of the reason why we say, if you see something, say something. When flagging a problem, make sure you come with a solution because we're all in it together. This is not like my dynasty that I'm trying to build. We all work together every day. So for me, it's he listened to me and I believed that he was listening.
I love that. That should not be an overlooked quality in a leader, but it absolutely is. And
It is.
if
It is.
someone can say that after you retire, then I think you've won. So
If I ever retire, which is not going to be the case.
spray paint might force you to retire at some point.
I will die Claude coding something probably.
Hands on keyboards.
Amazing.
82 years old, just voice prompting.
That's it. That's it. Still posting on LinkedIn. Might be the only one there, but you know.
Probably. Me and a bunch of bots.
Yeah, it's all gonna be something different then. But man, this has been outstanding. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I'm thankful to call you a friend and for all you've done to help us out over the years. Not just my wife and I, but my the Yarborough family, my brother. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. For sure.
But anyway, we're
Absolutely.
grateful for you, man. And
Thank you for having me.
thanks for the way you lead and the way you show up, LinkedIn, in person, everywhere else.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, friends. Go follow Kyle if you don't yet. You're lost. But thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
See y'all.